So there's a lot of shame when it comes to money. And I was raised where you don't talk about money to other people. You don't talk about what you have. You don't talk about your money practices. So to be in a space where people were putting their worst foot forward, I was like, this is amazing.
Hi, I'm Justin Buonomo, and this is Wisdom is Wealth. Wisdom is Wealth is designed to give you guys practical insights, modern strategies, and even timeless philosophies around gaining wisdom in your life. The wiser we get, the wealthier we will become. This podcast really is inspired by the book of Proverbs in the Bible, which was written by King Solomon, who prayed to God for wisdom and as a byproduct became the wealthiest person to ever live. If he was still alive today in present day, he'd be worth $1.3 trillion with a T. Not because he prayed for wealth, but he prayed to God to give him wisdom. And as he grew wiser, as a byproduct, he grew wealthier, particularly financially, but not just stopping there, in every facet of his life. And in my own life, I have realized that the wealthier I become, it's truthfully just because I have become wiser in life. I'm gonna bring on guests that are incredibly successful, incredibly amazing human beings, and have an amazing financial wealth that they've grown for themselves. And they're gonna share wisdom on their life experience in totality in hopes that something becomes valuable for you to implement in your process, in your life, and in your journey, and see how wisdom truthfully is wealth. Hi everyone, welcome to this client interview. I know all of my clients are amazing and I try not to play favorites, but it's really, really hard with this one who's here today. I have Becky Oste here today with us, and she's been with us at JFF for a little over 3 years now and has made about 3 decades of progress in those 3 years and has a really inspiring story. And I was just on her podcast before this, and I told her audience that selfishly, clients like Becky remind me that I know what I'm talking about, and eternally, they remind me that I'm doing the work that God is calling me to do. And so I'm so excited for you guys to get to know this amazing human here today. Her name is Becky Oste. And so Becky, can you just briefly describe who you are and what you do? And I'm super excited to dive into your journey today.
Yeah, absolutely. So professionally, I'm a trauma-informed somatic marriage coach. I help high-achieving women through a program I designed called Root to Rise, be able to find clarity and connection again in their relationship after rupture by moving trauma out of the body.
And she is darn good at it. Her business is very successful. I pride myself on the results and client experience we get at JFF, and she has a very similar track record when it comes to the work and the results that she does with her clients. And she also shows up as an amazing client as well. And I feel like that's a big reason why I think you get the results you do from your clients, because I think that the clients that we attract are a mirror for how we show up as clients. And I think your results speak for themselves, but I would love for you to share a little bit about how your financial stress has turned into financial peace as a result of you going through the Good Steward program.
Yeah, I remember when I reached my breaking point and reaching out to your team and just saying, like, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I had learned how to increase my revenue over the years, and in my previous career before this coaching I'm doing, I reached the top 2% of the company and earned the free cars, prizes, and trips, and was a success on paper, but was still living paycheck to paycheck, stressed as hell, no financial plan, no confidence. Woke up, first worry on my mind was money. Very, very stressed, faking it till I made it, and, smiling on Facebook and Instagram, like, look what new thing I achieved. But it felt like the money was just running down the drain as soon as I made it. So that was before. And now with all of the, results since working with you, like, I know we just talked about it on my podcast, but I actually did the math this morning, and since starting, Journey to Financial Freedom, the Good Steward program, I've 5x'd my monthly revenue, and that's been consistent. It's not this inconsistent, unpredictable up and down thing. You've really helped me build out the systems and the framework to have this consistent trending up, business growth. And then ROI wise, I've got a 233% return since starting to work with you. So all of that was really fun to do the math, but beyond that, it's the peace, it's the confidence, the clarity, the not worrying about money, the stress that for me, money you can't put a price tag on that part.
Yeah, for sure. I tell people all the time, like, I'm happy when you have tangible, objective results. Obviously, it's a big reason why we're doing it. Saving more money, making more money, investing more money, managing debt better. But the thing that you can't put a price tag on is the peace. And, I think a lot of that comes with some perspective shift as well. And so I think a lot of our ideal clients, when they come to us, they know how to make money. They just don't know how to manage it, right? Another thing that they struggle with, I think, is their perspective around debt. And can you describe how your mindset maybe around debt has changed since working with us?
I grew up in a home where my mom worshiped Dave Ramsey. So I learned if you're going to be rich and wealthy and successful with money, you got to live on beans and rice, and credit cards are the devil. And so I had like a very one side of the pendulum extreme view coming in. And it was really different, coming to you and learning a bit more of the balance of kind of the masculine and feminine energy of money, that budgets and systems are absolutely necessary, but even something like leveraging debt or other people's money, it's not the devil. And something you teach a lot is things like that can be a great tool, but a terrible God. And so you just taught me how to manage it the correct way. And
Yeah.
you can rephrase the question if I didn't fully answer it.
No, you did. You did. And I think that's why when we talk to clients about like what do we want to work with them on, right? Especially like the foundations, we say, build an emergency fund, buy a house instead of rent eventually, and manage debt better, right? And I word it that way intentionally because it doesn't mean pay off all debt, right? Because there's the difference between good debt and bad debt, right? And don't get me wrong, there's worse things that you can do with your money than paying off your cars and your student loans and your mortgage faster, right? Or staying away from credit cards by all means. It's not like there's worse things you could do with your money, but is it the best thing? Right. And I think that's the difference between us and Dave Ramsey. And I'm shooting a YouTube video on that today, actually, by the way. The YouTube team was like, can you give us a couple of points, Dave Ramsey, that you agree with and some that you don't? And I think that, sometimes the way that he teaches something, it's so black and white, it's so cookie cutter, it's so aggressive, if you will, where like it makes people feel like they're so wrong if they don't do it his way, or that there's just no in between. And so when I say manage debt correctly, it's pay off bad debt and leverage good debt responsibly, right? And so I love to see that perspective shift in you over the years, and obviously we're still growing in it. But you came to us with a lot of challenges before working with us, and so I'd be curious, what were like the main challenges you faced before working with us? This is a two-part question. And did you feel the only way to grow past them was to either make more money or cut out the lifestyle that you enjoyed?
I think, the main challenge, one was just the stress, like the actual energetic relationship that I had with money was very similar to the energetic relationship that I had with, any other area of my life, my marriage, my business. And it's this fear of abandonment, this fear that money was going to run out or leave me, or that I would be without. So kind of living in this energy of worst case scenario tripping, even when I reached a new goal and achieved some great new, like broke through a upper ceiling financially, it was just this fear that it would be gone. And it was a tease for me rather than something that was normalized in my nervous system, that this can stay and expand. So there was that piece. But then more practically, it was just, I didn't know how to sustainably grow and expand my business. I was doing all right. I came to you, I think, after 1 year of business, and I had some short-term success, but I had no budget at that point, like no systems in place, no marketing strategy, no plan for what I was going to do with my dollars. And because I was starting to see a new level of success, and it was the first time I stepped into what felt like my aligned calling. This is my purpose work. Oh my God, I can't wait to wake up and do this. And I'm seeing women's lives and marriages, like really important, big areas that I'm supporting these women in. I can't mess around anymore. I can't keep pretending like I know what I'm doing with my money. So that was what pushed me over the edge. Like, okay, I know Justin comes highly recommended. It was people that I trusted that had worked with you, that I was ready to learn the actual systems, strategies to scale sustainably in a way that was going to keep expanding and not do my clients or myself and family a disservice.
Yeah, it's so good though. Like, and I can really relate to the beginning part where it's like you just constantly feel like the other shoe is going to drop or like the carpet's going to get pulled out from underneath you. And, a lot of the work that we do with our clients is around the tangibles, but that intangible too, that mindset, like those shifts, I think, are what move the needle the most and create these tangible results that we see in our bank account or on investment accounts, right, or on paper. And so you kind of already started to allude to this a little bit, but would you mind sharing some tangible results with us that you got as a result of joining the Good Steward program? Maybe like amount of debt paid off, money saved, investments made or growing, like whatever you feel called or comfortable with sharing.
Yeah. So with already mentioned, right, 5x my monthly revenue, it specifically, I was making about 5K a month when coming to you. And then with the work that we did, got to a consistent 30K revenue months within the first year. And that's been
Yeah.
pretty consistent over the last 3 years. And I'm really happy with that. Sure, we're strategizing still to continue growing, but that completely puts food on my table. It's allowed me to retire my husband for a season. He got to be daycare daddy, stay at home dad, which was cool for him because he was always the breadwinner. So it felt really, really good to say, babe, business is at a point where you can totally take the whole summer off and just be with the kids. So that was a huge win. As far as ROI, the 233% return of what I invested in you compared to what I've made over the last few years. And then beyond that, I mean, things that didn't exist before JFF is now my husband and I are fully aligned financially. And that's been really meaningful to me. You remember the early days of just trying to first, I paid for this program without telling him. That was an oopsie. And that was a rupture we had to repair. But I was like, no way is he going to support it. I got to go for it. And then it was kind of like I'll apologize later. We worked through it. But now, like, we have our budget meetings. We're on the same page. We're maxing out our IRAs and investing for ourselves and also for our kids. We just taught them how to invest and took them to the bank last week. And they got to fork over a couple $100 from their birthday money and say to the bank teller, I'd like to invest this. So that just fires me up because I didn't even know investing was a foreign language to me, right? Before starting to work with you, I'm just learning this in my mid 30s. And now my kids getting to normalize this for them and see them excited about money and instill the values that I've learned over the last few years into them is just huge for me. So we've also got a solid emergency fund. Did not have that before. We've taken credit card free vacations with the family. So much good stuff.
Yeah, Becky has checked almost all the boxes, which is budget consistently from an abundance standpoint, build an emergency fund, manage debt well, own a house instead of rent, make smart investments into the stock market while also growing her financial freedom vehicle, which is her business, to be able to provide that freedom to her family. And then most importantly, doing it in a way that's aligned with biblical principles and being a great example for her children. And so, Becky, I'm happy that we have some time to reflect on this a little bit and also for me to reflect it back to you because I know you're hard on yourself and I know you're type 1 just like me. And, it's always like, okay, what are we going to do next? Or sometimes with type 1 people, 10 things can be going on. 9 of them are right. And the one thing that's off is overshadowing the other 9. And so I hope it benefits the listeners from hearing that, but I also hope it, is an awesome reflection for you as well, because you've done incredible things. And so I'm just so proud of you. And I'd be curious though, like, can you describe the time commitment required from your end during our collaboration in the Good Steward program? Like, how much is the time commitment per week? And can you allude to like what responsibilities did you have and what did we take care of?
Yeah, that was less than I pictured. It was like 1 to 2 hours a week at the beginning. And when you taught me to first make the budget, but then keeping up with it is only 2 to 3 minutes a day. Now it's just second nature. Is anytime I swipe my card, I just pull out my app real quick and add plus $5.29, and I'll have my kids do it too. Like now they know how to add to the budget. I'll hand my phone to them and I'll be like, here, look how easy it is. This is how you manage your money. So between just keeping up with my budget and then attending the live calls at the beginning, it was like 1 to 2 hours a week.
It's phenomenal. I just think that that's just such a good testament because yes, work is needed, but as long as it's intentional, efficient, and effective, it doesn't have to be hours and hours of work. It doesn't have to be quantum physics, and it definitely doesn't have to be hard. And so I know there's a lot of things that surprise people about JFF when they start working with us. But what else surprised you maybe about our services or JFF in totality?
How fun it was comes to mind. Like how I was like, I like these people. I like hanging out with them. Money had always felt like boring, very black and white. The different advisors I'd ever tried to work with, or books I'd tried to read, or even going through, not to hate on Ramsey, like it got me, started at least, but like going through the Dave Ramsey course, it was just so dry. And so to be around people that were cool and fun, that I was like, I would hang out with them, between the coaches in the program and the clients, I just liked the vibe. And it also felt very safe to be real about the ick. So there's a lot of shame when it comes to money. And I was raised where you don't talk about money to other people. You don't talk about what you have. You don't talk about your money practices. So to be in a space where people were putting their worst foot forward, I was like, this is amazing. It's a shame-free zone where I remember one of my first breakthrough posts that I put in the group was this fat stack of unpaid bills. It was like a year of procrastinated, avoided, unpaid bills. And I took a picture of it. And I remember the win being I finally sat down and I paid every single one of them. And it felt like I was going to die. I was like, I'm going to die paying these. I'm going to be living in a cardboard box. This is what I've been avoiding. And when I did it, it felt so good. And the freaking stewardship teaching started to kick in, where after that, I don't remember what the win was, but it was a pretty immediate win where I was like, is that coincidence, or is that the principle of stewardship that Justin's teaching? And I just continued to follow that. And every time I did some scary but brave, like stewardship move, another win would come, another client was signed, or like new breakthrough with finances. So yeah, that surprised me.
I love that. I love that. I whenever I'm pitching our services or talking to somebody about them and I get to like the community aspect, I'm always like, the JFF staff is cool and so are our clients. Like I remember like a year or so ago, I was at lunch with my pastor and he's like, I just feel like you guys have just figured out how to make like finances cool. Like you're doing events in Florida and everybody's coming and hanging out and like that we're young and we're hip and, having fun and making it cool and not taboo. And so I'm so happy to hear you reiterate that. And then also I think you're just walking proof of the quote that blessings and opportunities follow obedience. And I think your biggest act of obedience was the first act, which was jumping in and committing. But, like most people, I think it took you a couple of months of following along, before you decided to hop in. And sounds like it was a good decision for you and your family. So I'd be curious if someone that's listening to this is on the fence about working with us, what would you tell them?
I would just normalize the fear. I think the fear that goes through anyone's mind is like, wait, if I'm feeling tight with money, or I'm reaching my own upper limits, or money's an issue, how does it make sense for me to invest money right now? So there is that scarcity, that wanting to cling. So I would just normalize that and say every single person who's made a decision to seek mentorship for their money has felt that. And also, it's like none of us are guaranteed the specific ROI, but being able to now on the other side see what the return on my investment has been, my encouragement would be to trust the process, follow along for as long as you need to be able to get to a point where it feels aligned and you're able to trust the integrity and the character and the practices that has started with Justin, but he's trained, his whole team just to be of utmost character and integrity. So that's what I would say. I would vouch for your character and integrity, and I would vouch for whoever really shows up and puts it into practice. I've been able to see, not just in my own life, but in others, there is an ROI that I wish we could see it and predict it, but it's a trust thing. You just got to trust, and only you can make that decision.
Yeah. And trusting even when it feels a little unorthodox, or more so like to make true change, it's going to require an investment of your time, your money, and your energy, right? And so I tell people all the time, especially in our 30s and 40s, right? If you could have figured it out on your own by now, you would have, right? And when it comes to our finances, we only have two options, right? Keep doing what you're doing and step up and make change. You might as well pick the one that at least has a return on investment. And so I appreciate that and those words a ton. And so any final thoughts you'd like to tell the viewers before we finish this amazing interview?
Yeah, I think just the one last thing to kind of add on to what we shared is I grew up with a vision of just seeing my mom handle the finances in a very stressed way. Like the energy about it was, this is hard, that she's not having fun, she's not smiling, it isn't this like easygoing thing. And so that's been really beautiful to absorb from JFF and you taking the lead on that, where like it gets to be fun, it gets to be light, it gets to be free. You don't have to white knuckle. And I remember the first time it felt so big, but I treated myself to lunch with Thai food, even though I was in this state of starting out and trying to save and pay off debt. And I remember you just teaching you can have your cake and eat it too. You don't have to like punish yourself along the way. So overall, I just think that energy, that nervous system work that you also incorporate, and this is huge. I think you need that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I just funny. Just before we hopped onto your podcast this morning, I made a post about it's Pepe sitting right here in this seat with the microphone in front of her, and I said, "Monkey see, monkey do." It's a play on words as we call her a monkey, but it's also just another way of saying more is caught than taught. Right. And the best thing we can do for our kids, right, is walk the walk when it comes to finances. And yes, your actions matter, but what I think people don't realize that's more impactful are the words you speak and the energy you carry. Right. And so I'm so happy that you're making that shift for your children, for they see their mom handling the finances in a fun, energetic, and abundant way. And you're just doing such an awesome job with that and everything in totality. And so I just want to say thank you for this interview. This interview is really important to me because you're really important to me and your story is amazing. And so for anybody listening to this, right, this is possible for you as well. The only difference between you and Becky is Becky made the decision to step up and take true action and make true change. And so if this interview inspires you, you can either go to, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go into the comment section to book a call with one of our product specialists who will talk you through what it would look like to join the Good Steward program, which is what Becky has been through and has helped her reap these results. Or you can just go straight to our website, which is journeytofinancialfreedom.co, right? Not .com. It saved us like $5,000 to drop the M. Wouldn't be financial gurus if we weren't making decisions like that. And you can just click book your consultation there to learn more. But before we do that and before we hop off, Becky, thank you so much for being here and being vulnerable and sharing your story. It is extremely inspiring, even to me, and I'm just so grateful for your willingness to do this.
Yeah, thank you, Justin, really, for everything.
Of course. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.